Are autoimmune diseases a life sentence or not? That's a very good question. I've been working with autoimmune diseases for 15 years. My dad has been working with autoimmune diseases for over 50 years. And of course, it's not a life sentence, but it is a pretty serious warning sign. The main underlying cause is an imbalance in the functioning of the gastrointestinal organs. By restoring this balance, we can bring any autoimmune disease into stable remission, including such serious conditions as psoriasis, eczema, atopic dermatitis, and any skin diseases, which I've been treating for many years. We can achieve remission. A systematic approach is very important here. There isn't just one single cause. The cause, as always, is systemic. It can be slowed down, it can be stabilized. You can choose to believe or not believe in the huge impact of stress and psychosomatic factors on the development of autoimmune diseases. But again, there are results, there are cases you can see, and you need to take a systematic approach here. What causes pigmentation on the face? Common causes of pigmentation, and not just on the face, include hormonal imbalance, stress, antioxidant deficiency, and overload of the liver, gallbladder, or intestines. Basically, the body pushes out onto the skin whatever the detox systems couldn't handle, and it shows up on the area of skin where it's easiest or most familiar for the body to do so. Overall, I very often see a connection between imbalances in the hepatobiliary system, the liver and gallbladder, especially when there is significant stagnation, fatty liver disease due to excess weight, insulin resistance, or elevated insulin levels. I often see a link with hyperpigmentation. Could you please tell me how to cleanse the liver if you don't have a gallbladder? Life without a gallbladder is, of course, a bit different than life with one. Bile is initially produced and synthesized in the liver, but it's concentrated and stored in the gallbladder. So, without a storage reservoir, the bile flows directly into the duodenum, into the intestine. Well, since this is the situation, it's important to understand how to deal with it. And without a gallbladder, it's very important to maintain bile flow, to gently support the flow of bile. In other words, when many people say, well, I had gallstones, I had my gallbladder removed, and all my problems are gone. In reality, that's not the case. You still need to support bile flow, just as much in the ducts. Simply drinking hot water in the morning, 2 glasses empty stomach in small sips, can help. It's a great way to help regulate bile flow. Using bitter herbs and various greens, like arugula and ginger, can also be helpful. Nutraceuticals are also really helpful, especially those containing things like artichoke, milk thistle, omega-3, magnesium. Magnesium citrate works particularly well here, and lecithin. And here, it's also very important to monitor glucose levels, manage stress, and use all the stress management techniques we've talked about many times on my channel. How can you raise ferritin? Ferritin is 7. A ferritin level of 7 is a pronounced ferritin deficiency. We have a marker called serum iron. This is the iron present right now in the blood serum. And ferritin is the iron depot. In other words, it's your iron reserves. On the other hand, if ferritin is very high, it's also a marker of inflammation. So a ferritin level of 7 is a significant deficiency. In this case, you really need medical supervision. You should get a complete blood count, check your hemoglobin, and I would definitely recommend checking transferrin as well. Serum iron, TIBC, UIBC, vitamins B12 and B9. I'd also recommend checking TSH, and the doctor should assess your body for any blood loss. By the way, people with such low ferritin often want urgent help, like for drips, because they really feel unwell. When ferritin is low, you can experience hair loss, severe apathy, and a major loss of energy. And it's very important not to rely solely on ferritin. It's very important, as I mentioned, to check serum iron, hemoglobin for sure, TIBC, UIBC, transferrin, and determine whether there is anemia or not. Only then should you make a comprehensive decision about prescribing iron infusions. What else can we do? How else can we raise ferritin? You definitely need sources of heme iron in your diet. No for drips or even the best nutraceuticals will work if your diet doesn't include sources of heme iron. That means meat and liver. If we're talking about nutraceuticals, these should be chelated iron supplements. Chelated iron, definitely combined with cofactors, for example, vitamin C, to ensure proper absorption. It's also about taking care of your gut microbiome, your digestive system as a whole, and making sure you're getting enzymes, and so on. Have you ever eaten fast food? I'm a child of the 90s, so I drank UP and ate Rolton noodles. The dry kind, right. But honestly, I guess I was lucky. I grew up in a family of doctors. My dad's a doctor. And we always had pretty healthy food at home. Of course, we had Snickers and Mars bars, but that was really just for special occasions. Most of the time, the food was always really healthy. There was lots of sauerkraut, boiled meat, and my mom made vinaigrettes. I have eaten fast food at some point in my life, of course, but for me it's not some kind of forbidden food. Like, forbidden fruit is sweetest. I feel really awful if I eat any fast food. My body is clean and sensitive. So I don't avoid it because it's forbidden, but simply because I just don't like the taste. And yeah, for sure, all of this comes from childhood. That's how I was raised as a kid, at home. We didn't have fried sausage, or, I don't know, burgers or fries. So for me, it just tastes really bad. Honestly, I really did feel awful if I ate some fast food somewhere, even if I was super hungry. So yeah, of course I've eaten it, but it's not like I have some incredible love for it. What are the top foods that are most often in your diet? My diet is made up of the simplest foods possible. That's absolutely true. Everyone who knows me is surprised, but honestly, I don't like sweets. Not because I'm not allowed to have them, but because I just don't like them. I like simple foods. I like meat. By the way, I can't imagine my life without meat, without animal protein. I really do love greens. I always have a lot of greens. In my smoothies, in salads, everywhere there are greens. Avocado, eggs, beef patties, some turkey, lamb, rabbit. I really love all of that. I don't eat porridge because, again, I just don't like it. I might have saniki or something else protein-based. So my food is very simple. I rarely eat fish, and like I said, I'm indifferent to sweets. Seafood and sushi, those just aren't foods for me. On one hand, it's because I know a lot about this, and on the other, I used to love fish at one point. Now, no one could make me eat raw fish, for example, or any kind of raw sushi. Can you take collagen while breastfeeding? Breastfeeding mothers can take collagen after 6 or 7 months of breastfeeding, when the baby is 6 or 7 months old, as long as there are no individual contraindications. How do you get rid of intestinal candida? Good question. You can only get rid of intestinal or any other type of candida with a comprehensive approach. This includes normalizing the digestive tract, restoring detox functions, and bringing back the proper acidity in the stomach, because hydrochloric acid is the most powerful antiseptic in our body. Bile is one of the most powerful antiseptics in our body. If these are functioning properly, then no candida will be able to penetrate any deeper. That's right. Diet, of course. During treatment, we cut out sweets, yeast, and gluten. We support the digestive tract with probiotics and enzymes. Monolaurin, lignin, and chitosan work very well here. If some form of candidiasis is showing up very noticeably, we need to understand that this is inflammation of the mucous membranes. We need to realize that only a systemic, comprehensive approach will work here. What supplements do you recommend for people who work night shifts? That's a common and popular question. I still always strongly recommend, no matter how strange it may sound. I myself worked night shifts in a hospital for many years, and as soon as I stopped working nights, my overall health immediately improved. So if there's any way to minimize sleepless nights, you should do so. But if that's not possible for whatever reason, it's very important to take magnesium, omega-3s, B vitamins, vitamin D, and adaptogens like maca, rhodiola, eleutherococcus. They'll help, one way or another, to make up for the increased depletion caused by a disrupted routine, reduce stress, support your energy, maintain a healthy appetite, sleep, and so on. But overall, of course, I really recommend to everyone, if you just can't do anything about working night shifts, then try to catch up on your sleep on other days, especially at night. That's when you get deep sleep, which is the most important for your immune system, your hormones, and really everything else. For me, as a doctor, sleep is one of the very first and most important things to normalize in any person, no matter what illness they have. What should you check if you have an unpleasant smell coming from your armpits? That's also a very common question. I have a patient, actually quite a few recent patients like this, who came to see me complaining that her right armpit smells like fried meat patties, while her left one smells like fried onions. The smells are completely different. So what could this be related to? An unpleasant smell can actually indicate a microbiome imbalance, and yes, there is a microbiome in the armpits as well. It could be due to an excess of toxins, both exotoxins and endotoxins, deficiencies in zinc and magnesium, overload of the liver and detox systems, not just the liver, but all systems, the lymphatic system, kidneys, lungs, skin, and of course, the liver, gallbladder, and intestines. It's worth checking a complete blood count, ferritin, liver function tests, and zinc levels. I recommend that such people change their diet and start working on their gastrointestinal tract, usually after a month, once foods that can cause inflammation in the body, like gluten, sugar, and dairy, are removed. This doesn't mean that gluten and dairy are bad for everyone, but it's in these situations that people's body odor changes. Is it okay to take magnesium on a regular basis? Absolutely, you can, as long as there are no contraindications. Of course, it's best to check with your doctor about any contraindications. But magnesium is a fundamental mineral. It's depleted by stress, lack of sleep, alcohol, sweets in the diet, and certain medications, like diuretics or drugs for cardiovascular regulation. That's why magnesium deficiency is extremely common. But the other thing is, you need to know what dosage and what form of magnesium to take. This is a very important point, as well as which nutraceuticals are included. My hands shake when I'm nervous. Are antidepressants the only thing that can help in this situation? Not necessarily. Tremors when you're anxious, for example, are very often linked to deficiencies in magnesium, vitamin B6, thyroid dysfunction, or high cortisol, the stress hormone. Here, it's worth checking your TSH, ferritin, magnesium in erythrocytes, and vitamin D3. Be careful with coffee here, because coffee can also cause tremors. Ideally, no more than 2 cups of coffee a day. not on an empty stomach and not in the afternoon. You can also support your nervous system with gentle adaptogens and nutraceuticals, such as rhodiola, L-theanine, magnesium, B vitamins, omega-3s, and eleutherol. They can help reduce anxiety, cortisol levels, and trembling without a sedative effect. I don't think you should immediately start taking antidepressants for tremors because there are quite a few possible causes. For example, hyperthyroidism, when a person has low TSH levels, can present with tremors. If your hemoglobin is over 150 for the second year in a row and doctors can't find the cause, where should you look next? A high hemoglobin level can be due to simple reasons, like dehydration. When you don't drink enough water, your hemoglobin often goes up. If you live at a high altitude, if you have sleep apnea and struggle to breathe at night, if you smoke, or if you're deficient in female sex hormones, estrogens, also with elevated erythropoietin, or if your blood is thickening, you may have a high hemoglobin level. Be sure to check your ferritin, red blood cells, erythropoietin, oxygen saturation, and blood viscosity. Where should you start if you want to lose weight? I'll say this as someone who has worked with patients for 15 years. Just don't start with a diet. First, get your sleep in order. 7 to 8 hours at a normal time. Say from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. Get your water intake sorted out. Sort out your diet. No sugar, no snacking, just 3 proper meals a day. Add some physical activity, any kind of movement, and reduce your stress. If you do these simple things, your body will naturally switch into weight loss mode. When we're stressed, the body just won't let go of water or calories. I'd really love to hear your thoughts about hair loss. Hair loss is a systemic issue, and more often than not, it's not a problem with your scalp, but rather a signal from your body that something's wrong. Most often, the cause is a deficiency in vitamins, various micronutrients, or iron. With low iron and low ferritin, hair loss is an obvious and very common problem. Low levels of zinc and protein. If your protein is 65, below 70, you're going to experience hair loss. Hormonal imbalances, hormonal disruptions, and thyroid issues. With high cortisol levels, significant stress, or digestive tract disorders. Be sure to check your thyroid hormones, TSH, T3, T4, ferritin, iron, TIBC, UIBC, vitamin B12, at least B9, zinc, and your total protein level, as I mentioned earlier, until your nutrition is restored, and until your gastrointestinal tract can properly absorb vitamins and micronutrients. Shampoos, scalp treatments, ampoules, and capsules won't help, and nutraceuticals won't work to their full potential either. Support yourself from all sides, eat enough protein, fats, and greens, drink enough water, add the necessary elements like omega-3, collagen, biotin, vitamin D based on your test results, and magnesium. Start getting proper sleep, and your hair loss will stop.